It might get dark.
It might. So, if it's even in here. Yes, there is.
Ooh. Fire. I like fire.
Yep.
It's very warm.
Fire's warm. That's how you start your podcast.
Yes. And also, like, the sound of heavy metal scraping against the concrete.
Make sure this is... Yeah, see, this is the kind of stuff that you get in there. The little shaft.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything to the coffee flavor or anything.
I got
You
you.
still want to just set yourself up for success from the start.
Right.
And then get your act kind of together. So get it set up so that you're not having to do too many adjustments.
So I'm out the door a little bit.
And then you want to get this guy. You can let it warm up before you put the beans in, or you can use it to warm the beans up. So see, this it's all about temperature, and so you know, you sanitize as you go.
Right.
This is 10 ounces of beans, and so you can just toss them in. You can start anytime you want.
Oh, it's been started.
Okay. And so this is the sound of freedom.
Yes.
And see,
Red, white, and blue.
red, white, and blue. So, you know, beans, coffee beans are green when they start, as you saw. And then you put them in there. And you regulate the heat, but you don't want to... This is where it becomes your thing, right? You want to make sure that you're paying attention. And doing it manually like this, you get a good feel for what happens with the bean. So right now, it's like this is a really boring thing because you got the fire going.
Right.
Nothing's really happening, but the bean will transform. You know, it'll transform in there, and it'll turn yellow, and then it'll turn brown, and then you'll hear it sound like popcorn. So this is the part where I said it's going to be a little noisy. See that little squeak there? So this is why I have a machine in the garage.
Right.
Because it does most of this for you. But yeah, but I think any person that roasts coffee should start with this first, because then you understand what happens with the bean. It's all about temperature. As the temperature rises, the bean gives off the fluids inside it, and then eventually it gets to a point. It's like popcorn; it pops, but it doesn't change. You know, changes look. It doesn't metamorphosize like a piece of popcorn does.
Right.
It stays put, but there's a film on the outside of it. That's what the chaff is. That's what you're getting is the chaff is coming off, and then as you keep going, it'll pop like sporadic, like pop, 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 like a basic popcorn popper.
Right.
But as you get further along and the roast gets darker, it'll actually it'll start popping like firecrackers. You know how the line of firecrackers, people light them, it's like it's closer, and that's when you need to really start paying attention to your roast, because your bean's about to burn. And so people like the dark coffee, but the darker the coffee, the less caffeine. The lighter the coffee, you know, when it first starts cracking, if you take it off, it can be drank as the first crack.
Right.
So this coffee here is from Sumatra, which is in Indonesia. It's in the same area as Java and a place called Sulawesi. So like Java, what'd you think when I said Java?
I'm thinking about like coffee.
Mocha,
Java.
Java.
Yeah.
And another one, mocha. You know, mocha, M-O-K-H-A, is a M-O-K-H-A is a place in Yemen. It's a port.
Really?
Across from Ethiopia. So they say coffee started in Ethiopia, and it crossed over that Gulf into Yemen, and then it spread around the world from there. But you know, they have a story about a guy, a farmer, and his goats, dancing goats. A friend of mine, Mr. Stewart from church, you know, he talked about them having a brand of coffee called the Dancing Goats. Maybe it wasn't him, but somebody mentioned, you know, the dancing goats. And that's because these goats would eat the leaves off the coffee tree, And this goat farmer's like, these guys are acting crazy. I want to do some of that too. So he partook in the leaves from the coffee tree, and he's dancing with the goats. There's a whole bunch of information and a whole bunch of discussion about coffee roasting, and not roasting, but just coffee. That if you start to read up on coffee, you learn a lot of things about coffee. I mean, this is like the baseline. It's just roasting your own bean. That's kind of cool. It's a little bit overkill. It makes you a snob. But when you start to read up on coffee, like how coffee is distributed around the world, you also start to notice that coffee is a modern day slave trade.
It is. Yeah. And that's one thing I did, because my first semester in college, I had to do compositions class, and I decided to do a paper about coffee. Mm-hmm. And I did a lot of research for it, and I learned that it was like a modern day slave trade, and I was like, wow. And they're not making a lot of money at all.
So a 50-pound bag of coffee. So I've ordered 20-pound bags. So and that's coffee that's is already been pulped. So it's a cherry.
Right.
It's on the tree, and the seed of the cherry is a coffee bean. So there's just one bean in every cherry. So somebody has to go up on top of a mountain or side of a mountain, using the shade of a volcanic tropical mountain in the shade of a banana tree, is where they grow coffee.
Really?
And so somebody has to climb that mountain and pick those berries and bring them down. And so 50-pound bag of coffee in some places gets you $2. 50-pound bag. So 20-pound bag of coffee is a lot of coffee. So you got to pick 50 pounds of coffee cherries for you to make a $2 profit. So how many times you got to climb a mountain? But meanwhile, same countries, you have people who are capitalizing from that crop. They pay, the farmers, and then they go and make millions of dollars. Just roasting coffee.
There's a lot of companies that get money off of it, like Black Rifle and Pinion.
Well, I don't know about Black Rifle. I mean, I wouldn't even put it with those fellas. I'm saying the people who buy the green beans. So yeah, I mean, those companies are just roasters. But you have companies that buy. There's commerce. They buy the beans, and some of these companies go and buy those beans from them. I mean, so it's like there's no place in America besides Hawaii, and if you want to count Puerto Rico as a territory and a part of America that grow coffee.
Okay.
So Hawaii grows coffee, that's America. And then Puerto Rico is a territory, and they have coffee on that island. But everywhere else, coffee's grown. It's in the tropics, that's why. And so on the side of a volcanic mountain or side of a mountain range, high altitude, in the shade of usually a banana tree.
Right.
So if you follow the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn and the equator, if you just go to a globe, and look at all the countries that fall in those, you can probably guess all the places coffee is grown based on where the tropics fall and where the equator falls, because most of them so find those places and find the countries that have mountains, and you're probably going to be like, okay, that country either it produces coffee or coffee can be produced there. You have Ethiopia, Tanzania, Kenya, all the African countries. A lot of the African countries do coffee. So yeah, Africa, Central America. A lot like down south, in Brazil, they have places that grow coffee. Of course, Colombia, big popular, mountainous, and so you can kind of follow. Even they have coffee in Australia,
Right.
So kind of neat. So yeah, we've been sitting here for a few minutes, right?
Yes, and I haven't even opened or introduced anything to anyone.
Yeah. Jump in.
Welcome to episode 6 of Porch Thoughts, and today I'm on a porch. Again, but not my porch. I'm on my parents' porch with my dad, roasting coffee.
Yep.
And I am the host, Brandon, and this is my not my co-host.
Your guest?
My guest, my dad.
Hey, I'm my dad. Hello.
I don't know how much information you want out about yourself, so I just kind of keep it until someone says, yeah, this is my name.
Yeah, I'm Lou Holston. The junior of the 3 Lou Holstons that exist in the world today. So I'm the middle of that. My dad is Louis Sr. But I have a lot of things I could talk about, a lot of experiences I could talk about, but today we're going to talk a little bit about coffee. I did some time in the military, so we could talk about that at a different day. I've done some martial arts training. We can talk about that a different day. I'm an elder at a church. talk about that a different day. So yeah, plenty of things to discuss when it comes to me. But today, one of my favorite things to do is roast coffee, because it's just a fun thing. It's very therapeutic. The fumes and things that come out of roasting coffee are just really cool. I've been doing it since about 2004, so I'll come up on 19 years this year, and kind of been roasting coffee and getting better at it, or worse, burn some. But that's the whole thing about coffee, is it's trial and error. So that's me, Lou Holston, Brandon's dad.
Yeah, so I remember coffee's just been a thing that's kind of been throughout my life, because not that I've been drinking coffee ever since I was born or anything, but like just having the smell, maybe decaf, more than likely if I did.
Yeah, see, look in there. Yeah, they were green. Now they're like a little bit of pale yellow. That's the transition. See, look in there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they started off green, and now they're getting that pale yellow. You can see the smoke starting to form on them. So right. You kind of know you're doing the right thing. And the consistent thing with a manual roast is just being consistent and continuing the movement of the beans. If you don't, the bottom of your beans will sear, and then you have this burnt. And I think that's flavor to that too. You can mess it up, but even when you start, they tell you you're supposed to burn the first batch. So our youngest son, David, Brandon's baby brother, I taught him how to do this, and I made him keep it on long, and he burnt the batch. And he's like, "You told me to do it, and I burnt it." So yeah, well, if you start off, you're supposed to burn the first batch. So you season your pot, but then you're wasting beans. So.
Yeah, I just remember like growing up, I'd always smell the coffee being roasted from the garage and all that. So it's definitely very familiar in my life, and I guess a big part, I'd say, because I drink it to stay alive.
Yeah, and see, I drink it because I like it. I don't think the caffeine does anything for me anymore. In fact, I can drink a cup of coffee and fall straight to sleep. In fact, we drink coffee in the evenings before bedtime, after dinner. So if it's doing something, it's the opposite effect for me, because I sleep like a baby, basically.
And we're talking like just straight black coffee, no sugar, no milk, no whipped cream or anything. We're talking straight black coffee.
The way coffee's supposed to be drank is what he's meaning to say. Yep.
Exactly. The best way to have it, the only way to have it, really. Other than that, you're just drinking sugar milk.
Yeah. If you like some coffee with your cream and sugar, that's the one thing. And some people drink it like that. So there's some traditions, like it's down south, it's Guatemala, café con leche. And that's coffee with milk. They warm up the milk and they make an espresso. Like they make strong coffee, and then they fill up the cup with milk, and then they add the coffee, and it's like a cappuccino,
right?
But they call it café con leche, and it's a lighter roast, so it's got a lot of caffeine in it. You're getting caffeine, but you're just also getting, all that milk, but that is a tradition in some places. In our house, we have a thing called the mocha pot.
The mocha pot. And
the mocha pot is its own espresso maker, basically. It's like a single cup espresso maker that is manual. You put it on the stove, you put water in the bottom of it, it percolates through. You put your fine grinds in the little filter that's provided, and then you get like a percolated espresso, and it's like engine oil. So there's all around the world, Turkish coffee is another thing. Turkish coffee, you basically throwing the grinds and the hot water in the same cup and letting it settle, and you're drinking that cup until you get to the bottom and you just got a cup of soot. So you don't do like a French press where you press it down to the bottom of the thing. You drink it all together. So when I was deployed to the UAE, our cultural advisor taught me how to do Turkish coffee. So I have a Turkish mill in the house, and that kind of brings you to the thing about coffee is like you can do so many things with it. It's just fun. It's versatile. You can try different ways to have it. Just around this town, there's probably 5 or 6 different coffee places that you can go and drink coffee. It's a social thing, so you can, you have some of the better conversations you're going to have with people, or in a coffee shop, just talking about how you drink your coffee. So, yeah.
I think one thing I would like to do is like go to like a bar that's specifically just coffee oriented. That would be pretty cool. Yeah,
they have a few, the coffee shops like you guys.
I guess
know
I'd
about
just be a coffee bar.
Nexus Mugs.
Yeah.
Dark Side here. Some places make coffee, but they're not coffee bars. Like right up the street here, we have the awesome bakery called the Humble Crumb, and they have good coffee there, but they're not a coffee roaster. There's a coffee roastery being put up the street from where we live on off of Kill Avenue, right up the street here. Right as you get up in the neighborhood, they're building a roaster. It's like 1696 coffee. I'm not sure. I drove by and I was like, oh, there's going to be a roaster right here. So
right.
I know I'm going to spend some time in there because that's right in the neighborhood.
That's just right in the vicinity.
So another thing that's, about coffee that's something that people don't realize, it is a study in culture. It's a study about people. And so I use a company in California. This dude is awesome. I buy all my stuff from him, my beans from him. His name is Owen Thomas. And his company's name is Sweet Maria. So as we continue to talk about this, you hear that crack, that pop?
Yeah.
Hear the pop?
Sounds just like popcorn.
Yep. So that's what's happening. And if you look in there, see how dark those beans got now? Right. And I don't want to stop now. So now we're at first crack. So theoretically speaking, it's that first crack. You can hear it popping in there. And then so this is where I could stop doing this right now. And I can actually, you could drink this coffee. I wouldn't recommend it. It's a little bit potent. If you like caffeine and light roast, then this is good. What I like to do at this time is like shake up the beans, make sure I'm not searing them at the same, and then just let it keep going. And so this is first crack. You see, it's not like all together. It pops here every once in a while.
Right.
You want to get that microphone closer, you can hear it, maybe. I'll go slow so you can hear just the popping of the popcorn. If not, whatever. When I pour it out into this colander, you're going to hear, it'll get to second crack and you'll see like the difference. But
I'm just trying to turn up the volume on the mic to see if I can hear it through.
Yeah, and this one's a very subtle first crack. This coffee from Sumatra doesn't put off a lot of chaff either, so there it is. So you can sit on your porch, enjoy a little conversation about coffee, roast a pot of coffee, so I've got 10 ounces of coffee in here, and at the end of it, it'll expand bigger than 10 ounces volume, but it's doing the pop thing now. You can smell that what's supposed to smell like coffee is happening right now. I have this stainless steel popcorn popper. It's called the Sweet and Easy Snack Machine. It's funny because I think if you're a popcorn fan, you probably think this is blasphemy because I'm using a manual popcorn popper to do coffee.
Right.
But you can also use an air popper to do the same thing as hot air and heat that you're doing. You're trying to get that bean, to heat up and then turn, and that smell's coming out.
Just get a lighter and some body spray, and there you go.
Get one at a time. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So Brandon's got a different technique that I will not try. But
get some chemicals in your coffee. There you go.
Mm-hmm. But we're having progress here with this. Just sitting here talking about it and letting this thing go. The thing that you get when you manual roast is you gotta think about not being greedy about it, because you start to get the pop and it continues to get hotter, and you have to gauge it. So when is it going to stop? When is it going to start to cool down? So it roasts through the roast and it keeps getting hotter. When you get it even off the heat, it's still going. So you have to account for that. Another thing to account for is, as much as your temptation will have it, when you finish roasting a pot or a thing of coffee, you have to wait a day before you drink it. Some coffees you have to wait 2 days.
Really?
You have to let it develop. It releases CO2 and it's continuing that process. So it tastes like a cup of hot water. If we were to take these beans right now,
right, and
maybe we should try that just to prove it, but take the beans and do a pot of coffee based on them, it would not be the same as if we did it tomorrow this time. And then the next day it'd be even better. And the next day it'd be even better. It gets better with time. It's like everybody talks about this whole wine gets better with time. Well, coffee beans do as well, and they develop their flavor over 10 days. And so over 10 days, you get to the 10th day and it's the best it's ever going to be. But before that, it's still developing that flavor. So as you go, if you can time your coffee roasting where, the day after you roast it, you end up letting it do its development over a day and then go 10 days from that. Right. If you could time it so you ran out of coffee on the 10th day, but you roast it on the 9th day of that, you always have fresh coffee and the best it's ever going to be. Anything from that, you're in the grocery store buying it from that little stupid thing that you put out. Everybody's like, fresh coffee, I get it from the grocery store. Like
McDonald's.
My first question is, if it's fresh coffee from the grocery store, what day was it roasted on? Oh, I don't know. But if you get coffee from me, and I say it's fresh roasted coffee, I can tell you the day I roasted the coffee, the day it was ready to drink, and when you can either give it away or just throw it in the trash can because it's not going to get any better, or maybe just keep it because we're not bougie like that. We people don't throw away coffee. So it's kind of funny that I will stop drinking after 10 days and be like, I'll take it to work and give it to people like, hey dude, want some coffee. Like, dude, this is awesome. Like, yeah, isn't it awesome? And it's like 11 days old, but it's 11 days old. I would be willing to bet, if I was a betting guy, that if you went to any grocery store, into that coffee section where you have the dispenser,
yeah,
that coffee's well past 11 days old. They don't just, grocery stores don't just throw stuff away at the end of the day. Some things they do, like, you know, baked
you can
items.
find some expired stuff in the grocery store, so it's like,
yeah. So,
I mean, what else would you expect with the coffee as well?
yeah, even the big conglomerate we know is Starbucks. You know, they tell you that even the coffee you buy from them, when you get it, drink it within 7 days is what it says on most of their packages. There's a reason for that. You know, there's a reason you need to be drinking it. You know, because it doesn't get any better, and I don't believe in putting my coffee in the freezer, grinding it. Some people do that. I say that's for like Folgers and Maxwell House, because that stuff is already got preservatives and is acidic anyway. The coffee that you make at your house, most of the time, there's no acidity to it. So if you have issues with your stomach, you don't have that with coffee. With the coffee you roast it from your house, because it's just smooth as silk, you know.
Yeah.
Even at the most robust flavors, it's still.
And that's something that I've started to realize more when because I have Crohn's disease. When I was drinking coffee, I kind of felt it, but that's just the natural, like, the caffeine fills up your hunger, so you're going to feel bubbly.
Yeah.
But I never had a problem
Second crack, listen to it.
Oh, yeah.
See how fast, much faster you're hearing it, and it's more sporadic. That second crack, so this is where you start to think, okay, it just got in the second crack. That's how they have a city roast, which is first crack. So this is like getting to be where it's now time to be thinking about, okay, when am I taking this off this heat?
Right.
And so, like, so I like to let it get. Listen to it.
Yeah, you can hear it completely.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just going like this. So it sounds like, you know, those firecrackers. There's more consistent pops. So you're into a good, you know, medium roast now. And now it's going into the burnt. So this is where you know, when you hear it getting that crazy, give it a little bit of a twirl. And what I like to do,
the fire
off, and let this thing. So let it do the rest of its work in this colander. Woo. So you hear that? That's coffee beans popping.
That sounds good.
Because it actually got to second crack. So still, see, even after it's off the fire, you got the smoke going right now.
Right.
It's off the fire, and it's still popping, and so it's still developing flavor.
I'll let you know. I'm going to clip this because this is pretty cool.
Yeah. So listen to that sound, and if you're sitting with us right now, the smell is the best part.
Oh yes, it's
that woody,
beautiful,
woody smell. And then what I like to do, you know, it's maybe a little romantic art, but there's chaff in here, and so I like to transfer so that some of the chaff falls off, and then I transfer from colander to colander to kind of let that. But meanwhile, while I'm doing that, it's still smoke coming from this. There's no more heat source, so now it's gonna develop flavor. It's gonna continue to kind of develop into the coffee we're gonna drink later.
Right.
But for the most part, you know, you're there, and so it'll cool down. Some people will take it and douse it in ice water to let it stop. I like to stop it early enough to let it develop without burning the beans.
Right.
So if you look in there, you know, as far as consistency goes, you know, they're pretty consistent, even though we use a manual roast. You can see some parts that probably got a little bit of sear on them. That's all character to the bean, and that's character to your roast style. And as you get better with it, you know, it just kind of, you get better with how consistent everything looks. And like sometimes when I take this in the house and I sit in the kitchen, the house begins to smell like this coffee. So it's just it's a real cool deal. So
it smells very, very familiar. My childhood, right there.
Yeah. And so I mean, this is, you know, we have a propane tank. We have a popcorn popper. This one is about $60 because I bought it. It's stainless steel. The ones you get normally are like aluminum. I've burnt those. I've melted the windows off of them because they're thinner. So when you're roasting coffee, you're gonna sear with those. You just need to be careful and be more cognizant when you're doing it with the aluminum roasters. But this stainless steel, I deployed with this. This is a combat proven stainless steel roaster. I bought this when I deployed to the UAE. I ordered beans from that guy from California, Sweet Maria's company. Right. Sent them over there, and so we had a gas grill that had a burner on it. So I get up in the early morning and I go out there and I roast my beans, roast my coffee for the week, and so even in a place like the UAE that's big on coffee, coffee's a thing over there.
Really?
I was able to roast my own. So yeah, a lot of the Arabian countries, coffee is an event. If you go to the mall and in those places like the UAE has these malls that are just humongous, and they've got everything in there: grocery stores, clothes stores, and a ton of coffee places,
Right.
like multiple coffee places, because everybody's stopping and doing coffee, and they're eating dates, and they're just fellowshipping with each other. It's just an event for them. But you go in there and coffee's everywhere. And I didn't realize that. And there's a grocery store at the bottom of it, in the basement of the mall, and they have green beans. So I was ordering beans from this guy in California. They had green beans. Yeah. So that was kind of cool.
That's pretty awesome.
So we went through the whole process while we're having this conversation. And so how much time have we been on the air there?
Probably minus the opening part before I introduced. Probably about 20 minutes.
Yeah, so 20 minutes we were talking, and you said minus the part where we started.
So it's probably, I'll say probably 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes open, but we talked through roasting, coffee, and we roasted coffee, and it will be ready this time tomorrow. But a lot of people, when you tell them you roast your own coffee, first thing he goes, I ain't got time for that. It's like, in 20 minutes we had a healthy conversation about coffee.
Right.
A rich conversation. We talked about roasted coffee. We put some in. We roast it. We're done with the batch. And this batch, so I have probably about a week's worth of coffee. We'll give it, so 10 ounces will get me, through Thursday probably, if I did a pot a day, a French press pot a day, and 20 minutes later we're good. So, all that time. Oh my goodness. So maybe, a lot of people, they fear what they don't know. And they knock what they don't know, and so they're like, well, I don't have time to do that. That's just, well, yeah, you do. You actually
get that from just like that reaction with just a lot of stuff in general too, just working out, things like that.
The thing when you put in the work and when you have a passion for it, and you see, that hey, this is something I can do, and sometimes that's internal, right? A self-esteem. I can't figure that out. Maybe I should just not try it. Well, once you try it, you can. And once you figure out you can, then your confidence gets up. And that's what happened with me. Like I said, I burnt the first batch. And I got into coffee. There's a guy at work in Germany. He did his own. And I was like, you can't get any better than Maxwell House Columbia Express. Come on now. He's like, are you kidding me? And so he would bring me all his old stuff in. I think he gave me some Sulawesi. He gave me some Kenyan. He's like, he's trying this Sulawesi. I'm like, whatever. What is Sulawesi, And so every time I bring it home and drink it, I'm like, this is a good coffee. Oh, this is amazing. And so I went and ordered, before I even got instruction from him, I ordered the popcorn popper because we had a party at his house, and he had his popcorn popper going.
Right.
And he was showing me how to do it there, but I'd already bought mine. I burnt my first batch and set off the fire alarms in the house, the smoke alarms, and
oh boy,
you just got to figure it out as you go. But as you get better, you get better. And then I got tired of standing over the stove. Or doing this right here is fun because it brings you back to your roots. You got to go back to basics sometimes. And sometimes your machine, the automated machine you have, may break.
Right.
So if you like home roasted coffee, you'll never go back to the other stuff. So how do I stay having home roasted coffee if my machine breaks in the garage?
Right.
I come out here and manually roast it. And it's just as good. I mean, that coffee's going to be amazing. Probably better than some of the roasts. Because my one in the garage doesn't go dark. It's dark, it'll catch on fire. So if I want a darker roast, I need to come out here and get a darker roast from that. So
it's very nice.
Yeah, and the smell is just amazing. Like I said, you smell that woody flavor.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
That's really nice. I like that a lot. Yeah, but what do you think about like chained coffee places like Starbucks?
It depends on their perspective. Doing Sweet Maria's for the last 19 years now, they have some very distinct opinions about those bigger companies because of how they get their coffee.
Right.
But now most companies, even like the Starbucks, are going into this fair trade, farm gate. They know that this is a slave trade. They know that their people's lives are involved with coffee now. So in the beginning of all this, they were down this road of get the most you can get for the money. It may not be the best quality, and who cares about the person at the farm picking the berry? It seems like everybody in coffee now has turned the corner to hey, there are people's lives at stake and their livelihoods are at stake, and right now it is not fair for them to get the $2 while the conglomerates get all the money. And so everybody's kind of similarly changed. I still don't particularly care for, you know, the big names, the franchises. I think what we have here in Little Rock is legit, because you have companies that are sprouting up all around here doing coffee, and they each has their niche. Like I think West Rock has like they get their coffee from Rwanda,
right?
You know, so it's like African coffee. Okay, cool. We have Guillermo's. They get their coffee from everywhere, but the setting is really cool. You got there's a guy named Leva. He has his coffee. He's from Guatemala, and so you have a little bit. Everybody has a little bit of a different, what they call, niche, right? Muggs Coffee is a local roast.
Yeah, I used to go there all the time with when I would have off from a break from school. I have like a good 2-hour gap to go to Muggs and do some papers on my computer and just kind of chill out there, and then go back to school or class. But
yeah, I think they've done a good job here in town of every place. Like you guys went to Midnight Oil and Cersei. I've never been there.
Yeah.
But everybody talks about these places, but they're all different. And the thing is, they serve the community around them. There's 221 downtown, which is just it's one room you walk into, and they have a couple side seats. It's not a big monster coffee roaster, but their coffee's off the charts.
Right.
There's Fidel and Company, which is down by the bike trail. So you have bikers that go road biking, and they come back, and they end up at Fidel and Company drinking a cup of coffee. So I think their coffee is, you know, coffee shops are about placement. Like where are you placing this shop? Are you placing this shop, you know, on the main drag so people who can stop in and get a cup on the way to work? Good idea. You know, are you placing it close to a neighborhood? Yeah, Argenta is a good idea, because that's downtown, really nice, refined area, artsy area of town, and you
amongst
have
the chaos too.
Yeah, and you have across the way is Nexus, and it's downtown, so there's people walking around down there. Just a nice little setup in there.
Yeah, it's
Fidel
really
and Company. So yeah, I think coffee shop, you know, placement is about the area that you're in, as opposed to the coffee. Because what are you going to do different with coffee that nobody's done?
Right.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Like, okay, we have espresso. Well, welcome to the club. Oh, we have dark coffee. Yeah, welcome. We have house blend. Welcome to the club. Dark side coffee.
Put a nut in there, and
yeah,
you know, that's pinon. Yeah.
You know, so it's like, yeah, welcome to the club. Everybody has something different, and it's all, you know, if done correctly with the right roasters, they're all legit. It's just a matter of, you know, where are you at in town? What is it? What is your clientele? What is your group of people? Your social group? Like the dark side is a perfect example. Star Wars geeks are going to dark side because it's just a cool place.
I mean, even my friends who aren't Star Wars geeks, we go there. That's our meetup spot usually.
Yeah, because it's cool.
Yeah.
But I think right across the street from Dark Side Coffee should be Jedi Java. See?
Jedi Java. There you go.
And if you had that, if you put that across the street, you would build like a fun little rivalry between the two.
Right.
And you probably get more clientele from either side of the road.
Now that you said that idea, it can't be yours anymore because it's out in the public and it's stolen.
I'm not starting a Jedi Java, but if I was a guy wanting to market and just play, you know, and have a, you know, not a true competition. Like I said, what is a competition with coffee except for that people come in your shop or the other shop?
Yeah.
You know, so I guess you could place it somewhere down the road from, you know, Dark Side and have Jedi Java, or you can just kind of have it across the street. I mean, people are going to stop where they're going to stop. You know, we have a filling station in town, and they sell a local.
I need to go over there.
It's pretty cool. They have all the local farm stuff. Farmers bring their stuff there, and they sell it for them. The food trucks come in there. It's an old gas station, the filling station. So now you're filling your belly instead of the car. It's kind of neat idea. And so you can go in there, and you can buy some of the local roasters' coffee from them. You can buy local jellies from them. So once again, it's location, and that's in Park Hill. And so you're in an area where there's neighborhoods right there. It's like, I need some fresh vegetables. I don't want to go to Kroger, though. Oh, let's go to the filling station. They have, you know, fresh squash and tomatoes and watermelons when they have them out. Plus, there's probably food there, so you can get lunch while you're, you know, hanging out. And sometimes they put bands there. So they've got a really good niche. And so that's the thing about coffee. It's not the bean. It's where you're at, the clientele, the place that you're at. Where would you put it? You know, I always said I would travel across the two interstates, or the ones that go east to west, and just stop at every rest stop with a trailer that roasts fresh coffee, that had fresh coffee roasted, that did French presses, and we'll stop there, and I go to each rest stop and just, hey, fresh coffee back here. You want some? You've been on the road.
actually pretty cool,
Truck
yeah.
stops, and it's like they go in and get the Pilot coffee, which is another, Pilot's coffee is. We've got phones going on. Pilot coffee, it say it's the best coffee on the road, and I was like, okay, whatever, man.
Sure.
We'll see how that goes.
Get that Folgers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, coffee, it definitely plays a big role in society, and it's really neat how it could just bring different people together with different interests, and also just how socially built it is,
Mm-hmm.
because you can put a coffee place where it's busy,
Mm-hmm.
or people, you just kind of, I think the companies really think about, like, the location, like you just said, and it's a really good idea for different people to meet up and, get a cup. And
I mean,
have a good day.
whoever the genius was that made midnight oil and Cersei.
Yeah, I
What's
love
a college student do? They burn the midnight oil. They study for their tests and their exams.
Yeah.
So the midnight oil is like, okay, that's a perfect name and a perfect place to have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. You meet up with friends, and it becomes a thing. We did a coffee. We sold coffee when we were in Germany. We had a bazaar where we brought all these vendors in, and then we had food vendors just to feed the people who came shopping. So we were one of the food vendors, and we had barbecue chicken and coffee.
I remember that, yeah.
And people were like, "How are you gonna make money on coffee? That's dumb." And chicken. Who thought that was a good idea? But we made, out of a $70 bag of Guatemalan organic coffee that I didn't like, we made $700, and that was profit. That's after cups and all those stuff you had to do coffee. We made $700, so we 10 times multiplied the value of the bag of coffee that I didn't like, because people like coffee. And the thing was, we had this big old giraffe head, Limpopo, that we put sucked the head out of our coffee booth, and we sold our Squadron stuff, and we sold Squadron mugs. We say, hey, we'll fill your mug up if you buy the mug from us, which is $10.
Mm-hmm.
We'll fill it up as you come by. So you come by with your mug, and we'll fill it up while you're at the bazaar. People bought our mugs. They're not in our squadron. People from other squadrons bought our mugs so they can get coffee fill-ups.
Right.
We had to line out just like the Starbucks. We had to line out the front of our thing, and the cool thing was people came to the booth and they wanted to talk about coffee. And
That's
they just,
awesome.
It's a great conversation starter, and it's something that's not politics. It's not, you can make it that. You can talk about, how bad people are treated in coffee producing companies, but coffee, people are like, I'm a coffee snob, and you can't get a good cup of coffee. It's like, yeah, you know what? That's great, but you're probably wrong, because more than likely you can find a cup of coffee that's just been the best you've ever had. But the beauty of it is you can find another one just like that or better later, just based on a technique for French press or whatever you're going to do. So
Right.
It's good stuff, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. So what would you say is like your favorite coffee companies that like make and sell them bags, like Black Rifle, Pinion, and all that? What would be like your favorite?
I'm not sure.
I'll say top 2 or 3, or
I don't know if I have a favorite. Man, I like my own coffee. I like Pinion because of the fact that it's a New Mexico thing, and it reminds me of New Mexico. There's flavor in that coffee. I'm not a big flavor fan,
right?
But I like the fact that when I go visit New Mexico to Albuquerque, I can go to the Pinion factory and buy that coffee. And I know that person who has started Pinion, they started it from a red truck with a roaster on the back, and so I like the story more than I like the fact that it's Pinion coffee. It's delicious. It's frustrating because it's delicious,
Right.
But I do like. So that would be one. I'm trying to think of some ones. I've had the Black Rifle coffee. It's a decent cup of coffee as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not impressed with people that say this is the most caffeinated coffee I have or in the world, because I know that caffeine is regulated by how I roast my bean.
Mm-hmm.
So the darker, the less. So when you tell me you have a cup of black coffee that's dark, roast, robust flavor, I know in my head that coffee doesn't have as much caffeine because you roast it off. It's like boiling your vegetables.
Right.
The fresher the vegetable, the more vitamins to stay in it. The darker the roast of the coffee, you're just burning off all that stuff. So whatever caffeine was in there, you're burning off. And so I recently have grabbed the Dark Side coffee. I like their dark roast. So that's, if I have to have a favorite, that's been a really good one I brought home. I go get a bag of their coffee just to try it out. Another, not that I bought a bag from them, but Fidel and Company is a good spot. for a cup of coffee. And then this place downtown, this 221 2nd Street. It's a little small road. That was probably the best cup of coffee I've had in town so far.
Really?
It's 221. And it's just, like I said, it's a little coffee. It's not even a coffee bar. It's just a coffee stand. You know, they got newspapers in there. It's like you going to work in the morning, you need a cup of coffee, a good cup of coffee. 221 is the place I'd go for it for now. I just tried 7 Brew, and surprisingly, that was a good cup of black coffee. There's one in Maumelle.
Right.
So I tried that one
I think
out.
I've seen that one out in Maumelle. Yeah.
Me and Mom went there, and it was okay. I mean, it was I always look for the black. You know, I want to see what your black coffee tastes like.
Right.
And so I got a good cup of their house brew, and it was legit. It wasn't horrible. So
yeah.
So I kind of, you know, if I had to narrow it down to just bags of coffee that I bought from places, I'm not going to put Starbucks up there, but I will put Dark Roast is pretty awesome. Nice. So yeah, I would recommend that one if you were into the dark roast, because I think that's what their thing is. They roast it dark.
Right. Yeah, I've seen their coffee roaster and everything. It's huge, monster.
Nexus does good, but I don't think I bought a bag from them.
I don't think I have either. I might have to, but I think they might do ground instead of like the bean. I like to grind the bean myself usually, but now that I have like a machine, I think you lended us.
Yeah, I gave it to you.
I think now that we have that, I get more grounded coffee to save on my ones that have the beans.
Yeah.
Like the Pignon that you gave us for Christmas last year.
Yeah.
Like we don't have a lot of it, but we have just a good amount of it. So to preserve it, we get like the grounded powder.
Yeah. The grounds are, you know, when you grind a bean, you stop anything going better than it is. So any improvement it's going to have in flavor is not going to happen after you grind it. So keeping your coffee and whole bean in a airtight container, keeping air out of it, allows you to, when you're ready for it to release the flavor, release the beast, you know, whatever. You grind the bean, and then you're getting it the best it's ever going to be. You know, and if you grind it, you already stopped anything from improving, any flavor improvements you're going to get, any CO2 release, any more development of the flavor within the 10-day window. Now, after 10 days, you can grind all of it, and I don't know what that even looks like, because we don't usually keep our stuff after 10 days. Right. I'm usually roasting more on the other side of it, so I can keep in the window of having fresh roast coffee all the time. If you have the access to a home roaster and the ability to have fresh roasted coffee, why would you want anything else?
That's a good point.
It's like, I can just go outside and spend 20 minutes and roast a batch and be good for the week, at least for up to Thursday at least. So I'm not going to go to the store and get coffee. Today we had a breakfast at the church, and I bought 2 big push thermoses of coffee and then 1 fallback just in case. Right. And one of the fellas is like, "Hey, you want me to get the coffee pot ready in case you run out of coffee?" I'm like, yeah, I guess you can. I mean, you can go get that Folgers but I just feel like, you know, after having this smooth cup of coffee, smooth as silk, you go get the Folgers and you're gonna have a rude awakening. And okay, that's the difference. Yeah, I'll tell you the difference right away. So we had enough coffee that we didn't have to do that, which I was pretty thankful for, because I was just like, I don't want that coffee pouring into my thermos. I had to go clean it out. So yeah. So yeah, there's so much to be said about coffee.
Sure. And I think kind of moving on, but does involve coffee, fasting. How is that going for you so far?
Pretty awesome, because I can have coffee. I was 280 in April. I'm 250 now, and that's probably a solid 250 if you include water weight and all that crazy stuff. Right. I've been down as far as 239 in the past, and so it's been a good thing. It's definitely not something I'm calling a diet. It's a way of life. Today we had breakfast at the church. It started at 9 o'clock. So yesterday I was like, you know, I want 16 hours of fasting, so I commit to that. So I stopped eating at 5 o'clock, and I ate at 9 o'clock. So yeah, did that, and then like I figured, since breakfast is full of fat food and carbs and stuff, that after eating breakfast I would stop eating after breakfast, have a couple little snacks, but today I didn't go past noon. And
Right.
so I won't eat again until we have lunch tomorrow is my plan. But I could eat, I stopped at noon, so I could really eat at 4 in the morning, if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Because midnight plus 4 more hours, so I could eat at 4 in the morning. When I got up, I'm not going to. I'm going to do a longer fast, get all that carbs out of my system.
Right.
And so that's what I like about it is I like to change it up so my body's not always like, oh, adjust. And so what your body does is settles into a mode. So if you only do 16 hours,
Mm-hmm.
your body goes, okay, I know. 16 hours, I'm going to store up some fat because this guy's going to do 16 hours, so I'm going to keep some fat on me. But if you give it 19, 16, 36, I've done as much as 36 and as little as 16. And in between 19, I've done 18. So 18.5, or sorry, 18.6, 19.5.
Right.
I've done 21.3. I've done... This one today was a 16, but then I did a 16.3.
16.3.
So there was still some play. I could have eaten till 5.
Yeah, I did that the other day as well. I can't remember exactly what I was doing. I think it might have been the day before we went to Texas last week. I was I think it was at my girlfriend's aunt's house.
Yeah.
Keenan's house. I was at his house and they had cake and all that, and I didn't want to,
But you have to.
but I had to because I didn't want to be rude and deny the cake, and cake is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I ate, and then I stopped eating until we went to that one restaurant in Tyler.
Yes.
So
Stanley's.
I think it was like Stanley's, yeah.
Old-fashioned barbecue, yeah.
Right. I don't know if that was I don't think that was the time that I'm thinking of, though. It'll come to me.
Yeah, so I've done, I've tried to do, I plan on doing they call OMAD, 1 meal a day.
OMAD, okay.
So you can go from OMAD to 21.3. 24 is hard to do because it's like you're going to do 24 off, and then you're going to eat for like an hour, and then you're going to do another 24. So if you started at like noon, it's your 24-hour periods. I started at noon, I eat for an hour, so it's 1 o'clock. Well, you do that the next day, it's 1 o'clock the next day, then it's 2 o'clock the next day, then it's 3 o'clock the next day, then it's 4 o'clock the next day. So if you did 24 hours,
right,
you're always shifting. So eventually you're having a meal at 3 in the morning because you're doing every day. It just goes down the line, hour later.
right.
So the better way to do it, from what I'm reading, is the 1 meal a day. So in the window of time that you decide you're going to eat, if it's an hour, I'm going to eat all my food within an hour, and then I'm not going to eat again until tomorrow same time. And I'm going to do all my eating. So I use about 3 hours time frame today, and from 9 to 12, and back on the fast.
Yeah, and for those who want to get on the fast, would you suggest, if they're not like a big fan of like drinking black coffee, would say green tea without a sweetener or anything in it, would that be a good alternative for coffee?
As long as there's nothing sweet or flavorful in what you're doing, so it's called a clean fast. So if you can't handle black coffee, can you handle black tea? Black tea is better than green tea, but either way, as long as there's no sweetness in it, and you're not adding any sweeteners. Now, there'll be people that listen to this and go, well, I've done a fast where I was allowed to have sweetener. Yeah, there were fasts out there, and I was doing those fasts back in the summer. But this way of clean fasting, you're not releasing any insulin, just tackling the blood sugar equation that you're adding when you put the artificial. Your body doesn't know that it's this is artificial sugar, it's artificial sweetener. It's just, it tastes sweet, so it releases insulin. And that's your thing. Now if you're diabetic, you should be talking to your doctor before you go jumping on this fast, because if you're trying to limit insulin release, but yet your body doesn't do that already, depending on what type of diabetes you have, you're going to hurt yourself, because you're basically already melting away, because your body's not, you're burning your body over your insulin that the body provides when you do eat. So if you have diabetes, or anything like that, pregnant ladies, any of this stuff, the fasting thing is probably not something you need to do without talking to your doctor. If you're nursing a mom that's nursing babies, you don't need to be fasting, because your baby needs nutrients from you. And so there's some some things not to do, and when not to fast. But if you're just an old fella that's looking to lose weight and don't have any issues with your health, the clean fast is probably the way to go, because then you're regulating your own insulin release, and you're letting your body burn its own fat instead of the fat of the energy of the food you're eating. So 12 hours from the time you eat, your body's burning that food. So that's where it's important to get to 12. At 12 to 16 hours, the 4 hours in between, that's where if you're doing anything, if you're moving around, whatever, if you need energy, it's coming from the fat from your body, not from the food you ate 12 hours ago, because that's already been burned off and used.
Right.
So the longer you stay in fast mode, the better you are.
Right.
So,
and of course, water plays a big factor.
Tons of
as
water.
well.
I've been drinking warm water lately. For some reason, I've learned that warm water helps to move things through faster.
Right.
And it actually hydrates you better than cold water. Cold water, if you ate some fatty food, it doesn't allow that to get moved around.
Right.
So I've been doing like 64 ounces of warm water. I have a cup of warm water by the bed. When I wake up in the morning, I down that. It's easy to drink. Your teeth ain't hurting from the cold, the ice. So that's something to consider too. So it's been so far so good. I've been able to keep hydrated, which is a key.
Yeah, and that's something I've noticed when I've been doing the fast as well. It's just, especially with running, you have more energy when you have that first, I say probably 34 ounces, because that's as much as my hydro flask is.
Yeah.
You get 34 ounces before my run, and of course use the bathroom before you go.
Yeah, sure.
But with that first thing of water, it really gives you a lot more energy. And now that you're moving and starting to run, that's when you don't feel the hunger pains or anything like that. So then after my run, I will go and make some coffee, and then I'll start to feel a little bit of the hunger, but it's not like, it's subtle.
Yeah.
So then I would get my coffee made, and then I drink the first cup, and I'm not feeling that hungry. And
yeah, it's been a good thing. I go to work now. I work from home, but I work one day at the office, and I went in Thursday. And Thursday, I didn't bring lunch. I didn't bring snacks. I brought coffee, and I brought water.
Yeah, that's a thing for me as well. It's just like when I want to bring something to eat for my lunch breaks, I don't have to.
Yeah.
Because it's just less stuff to carry to my truck.
Yep. Yeah.
A lot less stuff.
And it's like, dude, you're focused. It seems like I'm focused more without the food. I was working from the house on one of the other days last week, and I did have lunch at noon. And man, I felt like I was dragging after that. Just like sucked the life out of you, because when you eat, your body starts to go into digestion mode, and it requires energy. So yes, your body starts to kind of function in the let's get this food process, and it's tiring. That's why you're dragging after you eat.
Right.
Most time you're sitting around like, oh man, I can't believe I ate all that, and ooh, I feel tired. Ooh, I need a nap. All that stuff is because your body's using energy to push the food through your body. Well, if you're not doing that and you're burning your own fat stores, you don't have that. You're not shutting down all operations to burn the food you just ate. You're still going in go mode. So I feel like I felt like I've been more focused at work when I haven't had lunch. And so my plan is, if I go to the office, I'm not going to do lunch.
Right.
Unless we decide as a team that we're going to lunch. But then I just feel like I need to go home after that, because after the other day when I was like, man, I'm just really tired all of a sudden, and it's right after 8, so
Right.
So that there's a lot of benefits to it, and like I said, one benefit for me is that the one thing I can have is coffee still.
Right.
And so I can kind of get through the day with water and coffee. So.
Yeah. I've been very on and off about fasting. This week I had 2 days where I had breakfast, picked up a little sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit, because I woke up late before work, and usually when I wake up, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm like really hungry. I really want to eat.
Right.
And I don't have enough time to go on my run. Well, drink my water, then go on my run, and then come back, make coffee, and then go to work. I just gotta have something just to get rid of this hunger, because it really hurts for me.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But
there's off days. You adjust to those and figure out how to get up early.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing. I get up way early. And they said when you fast long, you should sleep through most of it. That's probably a good thing, but
That's what I do on the weekends, like
Yeah.
Saturday. Today,
Just
I
sleep through it.
slept through a big chunk of it.
But for me, I found that as I got better with the fast and more comfortable with it, I'm not I don't need to eat. In fact, I pushed my time further. So I'm gonna eat at 3. Well, it's 3:30. Okay, well I guess I'm eating now.
Right.
I find the hunger pains have very much subsided since I started doing the clean fast. So I think the answer for me and my body is clean fast, no sugar, nothing that's gonna spark.
Not even sugar, alcohol with the
No
gum.
sugar, no sugar, alcohol. Yeah, that stuff that'll make my stomach goes crazy with that stuff. I was chewing those ice
cube.
the ice cubes from whatever company the gum company is that makes them.
Yeah.
I was going through one of those every other day because I just needed something. It's like, so that was the part that the book I was reading saying is, you drink, you have that sweetness in your system, and the insulin gets released, and you crave more. So I was going through you chew a piece of gum all day. I was chewing. I was like, okay, I'm going to get a fresh piece because it's sweeter. I need the sugar alcohol, but my stomach
Right.
was just bubbling away because that sugar alcohol does that. It gives you gastric issues. It's not sugar. It doesn't do the things sugar does, but your body still tastes the sweet.
Yeah.
It releases insulin, and so that was something that I was like, man, okay, I get it, because I was doing that, and I was just like ravaged, and when it was time to eat, I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Like, at noon, it was like, we're going to eat. And I would tell people at work, it's like, the window's open, so you guys are having meetings, I need to eat, or people are going to die. Now, we blast right through noon.
Right.
There, the other day, yesterday, I went to a meeting with some friends at church about our education programs, and she made big old sandwiches, and it was, I had eaten at 11 o'clock. I say cheated. I had some Ritz crackers right before I went to bed, and so I'm like, well, I guess I'm eating at 3 tomorrow. And so we had this meeting, and she made lunch. Miss Jamie made lunch, and we had big old hoagie sandwiches, and chips, and I watched them eat. But then when I left, I took 2 sandwiches with me, and when I came home, put them in the fridge, and at 3 o'clock, I ate those sandwiches.
That's also another thing when it comes to situations like that with the fast. It's like people are just like, yeah, here's a big food, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna eat it now, but I'll take
it with you.
2 times as much as I would eat right now. Let's say 1 and then my seconds, first and seconds, and then take it home and eat it. And
And that's so that's the key. And that's the first book that the lady put out. Delay, don't deny.
Right.
So you just delay it. So we made this big pile of chocolate chip cookies. Well, I'm not gonna have it now, but I'm gonna take 4 with me, and when my window opens, I'll enjoy them. Right. You don't have to, and that's the beauty of this thing is you don't have to limit yourself. But another thing is, over time, you need to start thinking, even in the window, where you can have anything, being smart about, eating smartly, like not eating a lot of sugar stuff. I go through one of those chocolate covered pecan bags in the day. It's a lot of calories, and my body needs those calories, but that doesn't mean I should be eating a bag of chocolate covered pecans. But they're delicious, so I do. And today was like breakfast. I had the man muffins, the biscuits and gravy, the donuts. We eat fat food, but I determined, okay, I'm gonna eat a little bit more when I get home. I smoked some chicken thighs with the new thing that Mom bought me for Christmas.
Oh yeah.
So I came home and ate those right at about 11 o'clock.
Right.
I ate some of those chocolate covered pecans, and I was like, okay. Looked at the clock. It's like, it's noon. I'm gonna go all the way to noon tomorrow, and we'll eat lunch at 1 o'clock maybe. So at 1 o'clock tomorrow, I will eat again. So I'll go a full day.
Right.
And my window will open, and I'll eat lunch through dinner. But then we'll have all the stuff. We have the nursing home singing. We have life groups and all that stuff. So I won't eat after lunch tomorrow, and I'll eat the next morning when it's time to eat, or I'll eat at noon the next day. That way I'll go from 1 o'clock, whatever that is, till the next day. And I might, because I'm going into work, I might go all the way to 3 o'clock on Monday. For me, it's not hurting me. It's not making me faint. You get when you need to eat and you feel like you're going to pass out.
Yeah.
I haven't been that. So I feel like I have some fat to burn still. before my body gets into the woozy states. And so it's been good. I've still kept the 30 pounds off, and I think once I kick my running back into gear, I'll probably lose a lot more. I was losing a lot when I was running.
Really?
Oh yeah, I went from 280 to I was in the 230s for a little bit there.
How consistently would you run? Like, would you run like twice a week, once a week, every day?
I was running every day for a while there because the Nike Run app has you for the half marathon trainer. That's what I was doing. I was just doing a half marathon training program, which I might do to get ready for this run for the fall. And because
I'll try that.
Yeah.
I don't want to like jump in there and not train to run. So I think doing the preparation for the half marathon on Nike Run Club would.
Yeah, you get some long runs in there, and you get some. One is a recovery run. They do some fast, some speed work. So by the time you do hills, and so through the course of your training, you're getting all this stuff. And I've stopped in the middle. I think I stopped on the 9-mile run. So I'm not going to start back there. I'm going to start over and do day one again. Just like I didn't make it through, but I got all the way to like 7, which is all I need is 6 for the run for the fall. And
right.
So by the time I get to that point in the run, I'll be seasoned and conditioned for running again. It's going to winter time's coming. It's going to be colder. It's hard to run in the neighborhood with loose animals in the night. But you got to do something. So yeah.
Just do the David Goggins.
Yeah.
Stay hard.
Yeah, well, stay hard, but don't die trying to stay hard.
Yeah, he's a crazy guy. I've recently learned a lot, like, about him, like videos and stuff talking about everything he's done.
Yeah, he's got a hard life.
Yeah, he's a machine.
Yeah,
he's determined for sure.
Yeah, he wore his hand off doing pull-ups.
Yeah. Like, I think it was like the world's like most. Yeah.
And he did the ultra marathons, 100-milers. It's like, yeah, that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tough fella. I don't. It's probably in me to be, but I don't see anything motivating me to be like that all the time. So
right.
I think
because you do need rest eventually.
Yeah. I mean, the book is good. I mean, you have to be, look past all the language and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But he is he's a good motivator. He's been through something that you can kind of go, okay, anybody can get through. If you can get through what he went through,
you can do it for sure.
Yeah. But sometimes it's like it's not the only thing in life,
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the stuff he talks about is figuring out for yourself how you're gonna convince yourself that you can make it through this.
Right.
And if you like lose that battle and that discussion with yourself, then sure, you lost. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I've been listening to more, I guess, more motivational stuff just because I like to hear what they have to say. Because, I mean, if I need real motivation, I'll just go to the Bible.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
easy.
But just, but if I just want to know what someone has to say to be more motivating, I usually listen to a lot of things that Jordan Peterson, I think I said his name right. Jordan Peterson usually writes. He had the 12 Rules for Life, and it's actually a pretty good book. A lot of good advice.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of language, not a lot, but
everybody has their language. It's like, I mean, you can say the same stuff without cussing. That'd be nice.
Yes, but I think he does. He's a very spiritual person for sure. He has a lot of. He does have a belief in God, and I think that book was probably before he was more grounded in that belief and stuff like that. But I mean,
sometimes that's a test of your. It's not control. It's just your level of emotional intelligence, really. And I'm reading a book on that. Mm-hmm. Do I need to respond in that way, or can I respond in a better way that still gets the point across, doesn't really hurt anyone, but yet it expresses what I'm feeling? And so I think I lose the battle if I resort to having a cuss. Like if the F-bomb is just the thing it's going to come out every other word. It's like I'm not smart enough to say anything but this word. I remember going to the basic training, and it's like that word became like it was like a pregnant pause. Like, was the F-bomb. Everything was the F-bomb.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I think just like being in a play, like a work environment, any work environment, it's everywhere, and it's like. And I'm not supposed to because I'm a Christian, so it's like you can't let people try and change who you are, no matter how different you are.
Part of that is being different But another part of that is finding somebody with common ground to help you through it, because
And I've surprisingly found some people too.
yeah, which is great, because I'll tell you, having someone else who thinks like you have somebody you can go to for motivation, or just to keep you on the line, can hold you accountable.
Right.
You know, I didn't have that when I went through basic training. I was 17 and turned 18, and slowly but surely you could kind of see how the influence of others took over.
Yeah.
And you start dropping those words like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
and it's like,
I have times where I've been through that
it's
too.
shocking, and then you're like, becomes easier, and then it's natural. Now you're just like, what you find yourself doing is when you finally get back to yourself, like what you're supposed to be.
Right.
You end up in church and you're describing something, and that word wants to show
and
up.
everyone turns their head at you like who said that?
It never came out, but you pause, and it's like, man, I almost said that word. And what it shouldn't matter the setting that you're in. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm at church with church people. I adjust. That's called hypocrite. It's called playing a part. So it really should be, you should be intelligent enough to determine, I'm going to decide for me, I'm not talking like that. And you know, I can tell people at work, I don't tell grown people how to speak either.
Right.
And also, the other side is, we're all human and we all have our missteps. What do you do to recover from it? Mm-hmm. You know, because nobody's perfect. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I never used those words before. But what did you do to recover from it? You know, what was the situation at the time? What drove you to that? And why did you make the decision that was the thing you had to do?
Yeah.
And a lot of times for me, when I've slipped up in that area, it's because I didn't feel the person I was talking to at the time could understand the direction I was giving them without using their language. Mm-hmm. But they could have. And that's wrong. It's faulty logic, right?
Yeah.
That's what we do. We talk to ourselves, go, well, I'm going to say it in your words so you can understand what I'm saying. They could have said it in my words easily. Mm-hmm. I could have said it nicer and probably got the point across better.
And
but instead,
like, okay.
I just went where they were at, you know, and used how they speak, and it didn't help any. You know,
yeah, it makes everything worse too. Oh, yeah. Just like if you got to get a point across to someone, you really could just sit down and be like, okay, this is an area that I need you to be at, and you're not there. Yep. So, what are we missing? What's the gap? What's not connecting? Because we need to figure out how to get from here to here. But and I've had my bouts where I have said things, and I do regret it. And you know, I can see how it can easily be something to catch up on. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you really just got to keep a part about you, or just keep that your morals, you know, in check, and be like, okay, that's not me. And if anyone from church heard me talk like this, not that I do talk normally like that, but if anyone from church happened to see me somewhere and they heard me say something, then I'll be like, okay, they'll probably tell me that's not you.
But the other side of that is, I personally would want somebody from church that you hear me say it before somebody who's not.
Really? You know, that doesn't make sense, though.
Because, I mean, we're not perfect. And I would hope that you would hope. Now, you know it's wrong. You know, you know it's not true. Yep. But you hope that people from church would be like, dude, what did you just say?
Right.
When did you start talking like that? You would hope that would happen. What they will do is they will say, I heard Brandon say this. They won't say it to you.
Yeah.
Maybe. And the nature of people is to talk about what you said behind your back without telling you. But we're supposed to be, as Christians, is to be like, hey, man, you know, let me pull you aside. I heard you say that word, and I thought I heard you say that. Maybe I misunderstood. What's going on? That's what should happen.
Right.
But now you're outside of church, and you're with people who are not church, and they know that you are. Mm-hmm. And you drop a bomb, and you drop another bomb, and they're like, oh, yeah, he's like us. And then you're like, hey, man, you want to come to church on Sunday?
Right.
I'm like, what for? You're no different than me.
Right.
And that's in everything we do, and that's why we have to be very careful how we carry ourselves, because that evolves into everything in everything you do in life.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I'm the same as you, which I'm not saying I'm better than you, but if I'm living the same life that you're living, and I'm holding the same standards you're holding, and I'm trying to convince you to live my life the way I live it because I believe in Jesus, but you don't see anything different, you're missing the mark. Mm-hmm. I mean, if people see that they don't have to do anything different to be like you, then you can't say you need to be like me. It's like, I'm already like you.
Yeah.
So why would I change? Yeah, I see you cussing and I'm going to cuss with you. So.
Yeah. I do have to go to the bathroom real quick, so I'm going
Okay.
to pause on this.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
How long have we been going?
About an hour.
Yeah,
An
we
hour
probably could wrap it up.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't talk about Toastmasters yet, so I was thinking we could
do
end
another
it
one,
with that.
but we can talk when you come back.
Okay.
I'll do the bathroom too.
Back in action. This time with a cup of coffee, since we've been talking about coffee.
It's real light. This is a Sumatra light roast. So this is the machine version of that. I can tell the difference between this and the dark roast Sumatra that I've roasted before. So
It's really good. Very smooth. Very smooth indeed.
and then Mom had Did you have the one in the thermos? Twist off thermos.
Oh, is it the straight up? The one that looks like a bazooka?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
So that is a Panama, and it's light roast. Mom loves it. You can taste the difference in that light roast. I waited for first crack, and then I just let it go 3 more minutes after that. After I reset the machine, 3 minutes, and it's very. You can taste the caramel. They say it's in there. You can see all that stuff. It's very nutty, but it's got some caffeine, so you're not sleeping tonight.
Yeah, I don't expect to sleep ever. But what were we going to talk about? Toastmasters.
Yeah.
I was going to lead it from bad language to Toastmasters. So if you
Yeah.
have bad language, come to Toastmasters.
Yeah,
Not saying don't curse. Not saying curse there, but if you want to fix it and talk more proper, there you go.
Yeah, Toastmasters.
What is Toastmasters to you? Explain what is Toastmasters. You probably have a better definition than I would, or an explanation.
Well, it's a lot of things, but what it is, just as a physical thing, is it's an international public speaking and leadership organization. So Toastmasters resides in most countries across the world, and they're just a big group of people. A lot of people use Toastmasters to perfect their English. So Toastmasters is they have a curriculum, a learning program that helps you to whatever you want to do, to have pathways. So you can be a dynamic leader, you can be an effective coach, you can be a leadership developer, and they have these paths you go down. But in the path, they have basically what I call speech class on steroids.
Oh boy.
So you go through all the dynamics of an effective speech in the first level that you're in as a Toastmaster. So that's visual aids, that's using gestures, that's vocal variety, that's getting around the pregnant pauses and the fillers, like I keep saying. Those things you learn as a Toastmaster in like level 1, and then you go off into your path to learn what it specifically that you wanted to work on. Like if you want to be an effective coach, it gives you strategies and different projects to help you with that. There's even a project in there, they call them electives, for developing a podcast.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Oh yeah.
And a blog.
I did see that. Yeah.
There's podcasts, there's blogs. So there's all these things that you can do, and it helps you develop as a communicator. But during that, you go to meetings, sometimes on Zoom, which is what our club does.
Right.
But then you have live meetings as well. You have different parts in that meeting. The Toastmasters, the speakers, the evaluators, the table topics, which is impromptu speaking director, and then the general evaluator. So you evaluate the meeting, you evaluate all the speakers, you speak. Everybody usually speaks if you're a member of Toastmasters, unless you just got lucky and they didn't get you. But for the most part, most people speak in the meeting. But through the course of you being the Toastmaster, which is like the MC for that meeting, you learn how to organize a meeting and keep it on time. You have a timer who has a light that tells you when you met your time. So it's just, you're really kind of being put into a situation where you get to practice your time management with public speaking, your impromptu, somebody asks you a question and an answer like that.
Right.
You get to learn how to think on your feet with it, and then you get to learn how to organize a speech and also evaluate a speech. So organize a speech, intro, body, conclusion, but then listen, which is one of my things, is listening. So you have to be quiet to listen, and you have to focus on the person speaking to listen. And so it takes the focus off of you, which is most conversations go back to me. Me. I want to talk about my experience. But with the speech evaluator, you have to listen to that person. You can't even cut in. You can't like, hey, I think you should say it this way. You have to listen to their speech and listen for all the good qualities of a good speech, and then give them feedback. So not only do you listen, you have to actively listen to get pointers to teach them how to get better with their speaking. So it becomes a thing. I've been doing it since 2004, to April of 04.
Same time you've been brewing coffee.
Yeah, around the same time I became a Toastmaster. In fact, the person that got me into Toastmasters was also doing the same mission where the fella who taught me coffee
really
was we were all doing the same mission at the same time in the squadron in Germany. And so one guy was doing his speech on the airplane. He was practicing it as we were flying.
Right.
I thought he was reading his Bible. So I was like, "What, you reading your Bible, man? That's cool." He's like, "No, I'm practicing my speech for Toastmasters." I'm like, "What's that?" And he invited me to a meeting. Yeah. But the navigator on that plane was the guy that got me into coffee roasting.
Okay.
So we were all on the same mission. So it all happened
awesome.
around the same time, So about 04, and been great. But yeah, I've reached the highest level you can get in Toastmasters. But the other part of Toastmasters that is like, it's not a secret, it's just something that's not mentioned right away, is the leadership outside your club.
Right.
So we have a district, we have an area, a division, a district, a region, and a district. And so we're District 43, we are region whatever, who knows, and I think region comes before district. And then your area. So what eventually happens in those is you have these different levels of leadership. And so you can lead outside. An area director, I was an area director, that's how I became a distinguished Toastmaster. I had 4 clubs that I was responsible to make sure they met their goals. I would go visit them.
Right.
And I met some new Toastmasters in town because of that. I was a club coach. The club we're in, I coached this club.
Right.
And I got us back to being distinguished. And so because of that last thing I did, I became a distinguished Toastmaster. So you have to lead outside the club to become a distinguished Toastmaster, DTM. But the competent communicator, that's all just complete 2 paths, and serve as a club officer, and then you get the highest level within the club. It's a competent communicator. And so there's different things you can do. So it all depends on what you want from it. I use it for twofold: learn how to get everything out and shut up. That's where I joined.
Right.
But then also I like the social part of it, the people you meet, and I like to be around people who are trying to be better. And I like to be a person that helps them with that, or get helped from people in the club. So it's twofold. And if you want to be a world public speaker champion, there's a whole nother speech competition thing that they do that our club hasn't done in a while. We usually help with the speech competitions, but you can compete at the evaluations. You can compete at the basic public speaking 5 to 7 minute speech for the World Public Speaking Championships. So you could be doing that. So there's so many places you can go with it.
Podcast stuff.
You can do podcast stuff. You can blogs. I started a blog for one of my projects. I still have it. I just haven't written on it in a while. But I have a blog because of Toastmasters, and I use Toastmasters to develop my young leadership program for the boys at church. For my there's a dynamic high performance leadership project that you can do. You have to have people in your group to help your advisors, and you report on your progress and tell them what you're trying to do with it, and then you implement. So I use that to kind of help develop this boys program at church.
Right.
I told them what I was going to do, and then I recorded when the boys did the worship service. So we did, we practiced. We had the boys do things, and then this is the ultimate goal. So I put that out there so they can see the boys doing, so they can see, hey, I'm not just making this up. This is what I did. A lot of times people do high performance leadership projects and keep it in Toastmasters. Right. Do stuff with Toastmasters. Like we had a club officer training. That was my high performance leadership. That happens anyway. Right. So instead of doing it that way, I want to be a little more creative and do something that mattered to me. I like club officer training. I'm about to go through it. But I also like to do the things that are going to help me in my regular, normal walk, So I try to tap into those things. But it's good. I have a lot to say about Toastmasters.
Yeah. So far, in my experience being in there, I've been in for about a year. Big chunk of that year, I was kind of absent. Yeah. But I had a lot going on. And also, I think you were deployed as well during some of it. Yeah. And I also had the surgery and everything. So I had a lot of things in my way that mentally I told myself, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm not going to be able to do it. I don't know if how people will feel if I come back after this long now. So then I kind of told myself that. But then the thing is, when I came over that one time, you told me about it, told me what was going on in there, and then told me, yeah, join, and pressured me to join. Just kidding.
Skip on it. Yeah, so come on, dude.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? I don't have a lot going on. I mean, I have school, but if I have school on that day, I'll just focus on school because I need to get through it.
Toastmasters, yeah.
And then, the next time we have a meeting, then do that.
Yeah.
But
that's the best. I mean, and that's what everybody else does as well. I mean, we're busy, and Toastmasters is voluntary. You pay to be a Toastmaster, so there's nothing saying I'm your boss in Toastmasters. It's just it's all voluntary effort, and that's the thing that I think, because it's internationally known.
right.
If you go on LinkedIn, you put in Toastmasters, see what people think about Toastmasters. I mean, there's tons of people, tons of corporations. The company I work for now, they give me 2 hours a month to go to Toastmasters. So I'm a member of a Toastmasters club in Arlington, Texas, that I meet with every first and third Tuesday of the month. And I go
on Zoom.
Yeah, do Zoom. It's actually on Teams.
Teams, okay.
And so we do lunch and we have speeches. They had a Christmas party recently. I was here. They were all in Arlington eating food, and I was at the meeting. I contributed to the meeting.
Right.
Because what companies see, some of them see the value of employees who can communicate their mission to other people. Especially a company like mine that's a government contract type company.
Right.
Well, I need to be able to talk to our customers about what we offer, and I need to be able to do that clearly.
That's what I need to do for my HVAC is tell people what's wrong with their units and what pieces I can sell them, and talk about the contracts and all that, and I need to know how to talk and not to have the filler words and know how to be professional. And I think that's a big thing that Toastmasters has really helped me on, is my professionalism. Yeah. So it's definitely I would recommend for anyone to join Toastmasters.
It helps you, and people are so afraid of public speaking, and it's like, next to death, I think that is actually death is second to public speaking. Really? So basically, and it may have changed recently, but people would rather be buried than talk in front of people. They would rather be getting the eulogy read about them than they would to read the eulogy to a person. So this is interesting. And
surprisingly, I can see that.
I mean, I guess I can see it, but what I get is like, I'm teaching a class at church where how to teach a class, and last week I did mostly Toastmaster tips on public speaking. Talked about just the things you need to know. The little bookmark you get says know your audience, know this stuff, know your subject, practice. I handed it out and I put it on paper so they could have it as a reminder. And I gave some other tips about the difference between teaching and speaking. Like speeching, doing a speech and teaching a class are different. So I played those differences between each other for the class. But yeah, so it's people are so afraid, but I'm like, what are you going to let defeat you? Right. I mean, you're talking about talking to people. We're not talking about like climbing Mount Everest. We're not talking about jumping out the back of an airplane with no parachute on. We're just this is going to beat me. This talking in front of somebody is going to be the thing that I'm going to follow my sword for. If I need to get a good job and I need to express what I bring to that job, I'm going to let that defeat me. And so I'm so afraid of talking. I'm not going to talk to this employer about what I bring into their organization. I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to let it make me shake in my boots, and I'm not going to get the job that I deserve, based on, my experience, because I don't want to talk to people. And, if I stand in front of somebody and they ask if I'm at church and they say, communicate, I'm going to let that defeat me. I'm going to let these people who are happy that I'm, up front, who are afraid to speak themselves, I'm going to let them make me nervous, and I'm not going to go up there and speak. I was like, why would they're not God. They're just people, and they are just as afraid of being up there as you are.
And it's like, if I do mess up, they don't know. I'm the only one who knows.
They don't care.
And that's a lot of the time. That's a lot of the things I've noticed when I had to stand up in front of a church to serve. It's just like, I messed this up in my head. I could have said this in the prayer, or I could have done that.
Nobody else knows it.
No one else knows it. And I've even told people about it, like, I messed up in this. And they're like, no, I didn't notice anything. I'm just like, really? Okay. Well, so now I'm just going to get to the point where I don't tell anyone, oh, I messed up here.
But so you're fulfilling one of the Toastmaster rules. Never apologize.
Never apologize.
Never apologize in this. Like, don't tell somebody, I forgot to add this into this, or I forgot to say this thing. No one knows what you forgot unless you tell them. Unless you give them an outline, then sure. If you say, I'm going to give you 3 points, you give them 2, then it's different. But even then, you can just say, hey, that last point, I'll get to next time. You know, we don't have enough time. So,
right.
So that's never apologize. Don't say thank you, because when people are asking you to stand in front of them to speak, you are doing them a favor. So if you're the guest speaker, they've asked you to come speak. You don't have to thank them. Now, why are you thanking them for? So that's another Toastmasterism. Don't say thank you, because they invited you. So you can say, have a good evening. It was good talking with you. You know, unless you wanted to be there and you pushed yourself into the, like, can I talk for that?
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, but most of the time, you know, if you're a guest speaker, and I've been a guest speaker. I've spoken at college graduations. I've spoken at senior CO inductions, chief inductions, Airman Leadership School inductions. I've spoken at, you know, nursing homes for veterans on Veterans Day. I've spoken quite a bit. I've spoken to little guys at school on Veterans Day as well. So, but when they ask you to come, they're asking you. You're the guest speaker, and in a given situation, you could be paid for speaking in front of people. So why are you saying thank you? You know,
right?
And a lot of times people get your skills for free, and they should be saying thank you in that regard. You know, hey, can you come talk to us? Well, you gonna pay me? No. Well, and I will never ask anybody to pay me, but if I was a paid speaker, I would have a fee. You know, Toastmasters has an accredited speaker program where you go and so many speeches you give, you have to record them, you have to be paid for them, and over the course of time, you get so many done, and then you can apply to be an accredited speaker. And then you're in the list of speakers that Toastmaster has that are accredited, meaning that you have the credentials to go speak about things, that's leadership, cool. Whatever. So that's a whole other program with them, but it involves you trying to work out getting paid to speak. So it's a little bit different. So.
That's pretty cool, though. That's really cool.
There's so many ways or places you can go with it, and I like it because I can go to Seattle, Washington, and type in the zip code and go, what's the closest Toastmaster club, and pop in on a Toastmaster meeting if they're having one, and be in there, and I know that they'll be the same as the one here, so it'll have the same parts of it, they'll do the same stuff, and maybe some differences. Like there's one here, the High Noon guys, they have lunch. They have lunch provided. You go to their meeting, and it's in a insurance building off of Shackleford Road, but it's the same format. You have the speeches, evaluations, impromptu, general evaluation, all that stuff is the same. So that's the beauty of it, is to have a template like a franchise. You know that it's the same everywhere you go. So
yeah, and it's definitely really good for building up confidence as well overall. Yeah. But I think it's getting pretty late. It's cold.
I'm good.
I've knocked all the points
out. Got my hoodie on.
Huh?
Got my hoodie on.
Yeah, kind of happy I got to that last point too. We got all our points, or all of our subjects talked about. I think this will be good for tonight.
Yeah, good talking with you, man.
Yeah.
I'll do another 3-hour Porch time with you.
3 hours.
Yeah, that's a long time.
So. That'll be a hard thing to upload.
Yeah, definitely.
But is there anything you want to plug? Say like, follow this, or follow me on this, or anything like that?
I don't have anything that I have out there that I'm really actively pushing, but I would tell you, just, don't limit yourself by just the unknowns. If you're interested in something, look at it. Jump into it. I will tell you, the LinkedIn has been a thing for me. LinkedIn is a good way to get your name out there in a place where there's network, there's people who are going to see you. If you're moving up in the world and you're starting to establish yourself, that's a good way to start a network. And you can go on LinkedIn and you can type in Toastmasters. You can follow the Toastmasters to kind of see what they're talking about.
Right.
And that way you can speak smartly about the issues of the day. I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about what are the catchphrases out there today. What are people talking about? Right. Before, when this year began, it was RTO,
RTO.
Return to office. Everybody was doing what they call virtual, remote, and now we're returning to office. You have some companies that are saying that's the way we're going to do it because we collaborate better. Google and all them guys, it's like come back to the office because people need to see each other.
Right.
And so keep up on the catchphrases, that are out there for the thing that you're doing, or the thing that you want to do. And just stay abreast of that kind of stuff and all the opportunities out there for you to improve yourself. And that's really it. I mean, take some adventures and learn how to do something different, like coffee. Make yourself something that's different than what everybody else is doing. Like how many people roast their own coffee? Me and a few others out there, but for the most part, it's my thing. People know me for that, and so
just have your thing, establish it, and stand by it.
People know I talk a lot. They probably know I'm a Toastmaster. But I make a joke, I retired after the Air Force after 30 years. A lot of my friends are known for things they did in the back of the airplanes we flew. But I think for the most part, most people I know who know me in the last 20 years almost, they will all come to the same conclusion. The dude makes a good cup of coffee.
Right.
Which is kind of funny. But he may have been a good chief in the Air Force, but he makes a good cup of coffee. So yeah. So that's always something. So just, have your own thing, do your own thing. And I think, as long as you're trying to do your best at anything and improve yourself, you're on the right path. It's like, what's the path for me? Well, try to improve yourself, try to do good for people if that's your thing, and you're going to be on the right path regardless. So good things.
Well, alrighty. So I guess all that we'll consume all that and just say shout out to Toastmasters and LinkedIn.
Toastmasters, LinkedIn, Coffee Roasting,
and Coffee Roasting. Shout out to all of that.
Yeah.
Sweet Maria's.
Yeah.
Follow them everywhere.
SweetMarias.com. If you have any questions about coffee, that is the place for me that I use on a regular basis. That I call it Coffee University. I think they even have that in there, like a coffee school or coffee talk. Shrub, just the coffee shrub.
Right.
Shrub, I think it's one of their newsletters, and he's always putting out information about different roasters, machines. He always has new beans coming in, so it's just a really cool place to go and learn more about coffee and buy some stuff if you want. But yeah, that's not his exclusive thing. But that's what they do a lot of is selling beans and roasters and really building a passion for home roasting, which he's got it for me. I mean, I use them exclusively. I've tried other places. He may be more pricey. I don't know. I just know that since 2004 I've used him. So that's my company, Sweet Maria's. I should get a plug. Maybe I'll get some royalties. I doubt it, but whatever. I'm not looking for it.
Maybe you send me a link and I can put it in the description for people to follow for all these things.
SweetMarias.com. www.sweetmarias.com. No apostrophe after the S in Maria.
We are not sponsored. I've never been sponsored.
No.
This is all just free promotion.
This is where that's where I go if I have questions about coffee. If I'm looking for equipment for coffee, bags for coffee, scales for coffee, roasters. Everything's in that website that you need to know or want to know about coffee. You can do background research, learn about people and where they roast. I mean, they're just a really good company, and I don't get anything from them except for I buy their coffee, and every time I've had it, unless he's actually said this coffee is horrible, I just want you to try so you understand what horrible coffee tastes like. He's done that before,
right?
And so everything else I've ordered from him, off the charts.
It's good stuff. So. Well, all right. That's an episode. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to follow Porch Thoughts on Instagram and also listen to this on Spotify and or YouTube. And thanks for tuning in.
Later.
See ya. See ya, suckers. All right. Y'all have a good evening or day. Bye-bye.